Tonight, we catch up on Amazon Prime's new show Citadel and see how we like it. Then we'll take a look at Apple TV's new show Silo and see if it's worth your time. And then head off to the final frontier to talk DS9. All this coming up right now on The Thing. And welcome back to one of the best shows to be on Tuesday night, or whenever is convenient for you. I am, of course, your host, Petey York, joined, as always, by Mr. Corion Witch in Residence.
Hey.
Mr. Pollo Zapatos. And, of course, Skogli Jotun. Standing in solidarity, of course, I'm wearing my Enlisted Starfleet red shirt, while he proudly wears a red shirt to keep people fueled up in more ways than just gas. Truly.
Wait a minute. I thought he was in the red shirt because we were going to be beaming down to somewhere.
That will eventually happen as well.
Okay.
And you know, I don't know. It's like, what kind of red shirts do you want to bring? Do you want to be one yourself as a main character in TNG, or do you want to just have a gaggle of them that you can send wave after wave of men until you know, defeat your enemies?
We just need a couple heroic red shirts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we already know one of them was Riker. I mean, that just goes without saying. Especially once that beard came in, he was the man forever.
And of course, don't forget the Riker maneuver.
Oh,
right.
Of course. How can it possibly
Where you mac on alien space babes all the time.
He's like Kirk, except better?
With a beard. Like, yeah.
I don't know. Some people might take personal offense to that, but you know, my captain is Cisco, so that's
there you
right.
go.
That's right, man. We are the pop culture news has been well, you know, there was a couple things we kind of discussed, but we really didn't want to waste many people's time because we did also have a lot of homework to catch up on with this particular show. Citadel had 3 episodes out, and Silo released with 2, and then of course we have 2 Deep Space Nine episodes to get through. So yeah, let's get this show.
Like high school, I'm bad at homework. But I did want to express some general thoughts on this new wave. Like, shout out to Apple for coming back with another banger. Like,
we're covering
we're
Citadel
doing
first,
Citadel.
right? No, I'm saying general thoughts on all of these, like
okay.
as a whole. Like, every time we seem to go to Apple for a show, like we are not let down.
No.
But then same with Amazon, like, maybe you're just like tennis racket and apple core's method on writing good stories is kind of working because like Rings of Power, Wheel of Time, bomb. But then you actually put in some things like Peripheral and now Citadel, like,
and they took over the Expanse and did good things there too.
Yeah, Expanse too. Yeah, Man in the High Tower was a fun one too.
Man in the High Castle.
High Castle. But like, just honestly, I'm really loving the like modern tropes or modern twists on the old tropes. Like, I am really liking how we're finally getting some new like Kingsman-esque spy movies, stories, and they're also completely their own.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that is fun. So like, I just want to shout that out in general for, like,
yeah, before we get in, we've got Nemesis of Eden says, "Hail all, hope you are all doing awesome. Hail to you as well." And Orville Nation has also joined us. Glad to see you around. We miss you on Twitter, of course, but hopefully it'll still be there if it, freaking works.
What an injustice that is. Oh my goodness.
It's almost
Good to see you, friend.
It's almost as bad as the poor functionality of Twitter mobile. I mean, geez, what a just disgusting nightmare. It's a pain in the ass. Let's throw some new code on top of the spaghetti code after we fire all the other coders.
But getting on to Citadel, honestly, I agree with Pollo Zapatos here. It's like they took Kingsman and like sent it to go get like a university degree, right? Like it leveled up, and I freaking love it.
It kind of feels like they talked to H. John Benjamin and the Archer team, and
a little bit.
Flipped some character bios. Mason Kane and Nadia Singh, who's the one who had the mother that was in the spy agency first.
But at least they're cribbing.
Twist, I hear you.
Yeah. Now hold on. Before we get too into the meat and potatoes, remember the new formula we started with Picard and we carried through Mando. I think we should keep it going. Because in case we get people that just want the.
That's her official name.
So we'll go into the to the quick non-spoiler overview. So if you were like me as a kid growing up and you played video games, specifically the 007 games, which were some of favorite of John and I's, absolutely. My personal favorite, hands down. I'll probably get some flack from the GoldenEye fanboys for this, but I don't care. Hands down, the best 007 game is without a doubt Everything or Nothing. Between having such an awesome single-player story that just feels like a Bond movie, probably because you had an actual James Bond doing the voice and you had his likeness as well, with opposing Willem Dafoe on the other end. Like, this should have actually been a movie, and the fact that it wasn't was a mistake because
I'm completely unaware of this media.
You have never played 007 Everything. If you are watching this broadcast and you have not played Everything or Nothing.
I've never heard of it.
And if you have a classic console, try to find a copy of the game. I've got an old Xbox copy that we got because we think we have a 360 or something lying around.
And we should acknowledge that if you play it on the Xbox, it's different than if you play it on the GameCube.
Yeah, it is such
4 total different stories.
Oh.
Yeah. No,
the GameCube controller blows. I can't play it.
Yeah. No, all right, we're getting a little bit off track here.
So the series, though.
The series basically felt like this was watching a like kind of video game, but back to that, James Bond sci-fi realism that with a bit of the fantasy element, of course, because that's what.
And it takes itself super seriously too. Right. It's not like a tongue-in-cheek delivery either, which is interesting.
Yeah, and look, the characters are, so far anyway, have been really well thought out. The dialogue is very snappy, which I appreciate. They do, okay, I don't know who the director is, but they're doing amazing juxtaposition work. Like, they'll have, for example, one character in the middle of a ridiculous fight in like close quarters where it's more like wrestling than anything else. And then they'll have one of the other characters just talking casually at a bar or something. Like, it worked really well bouncing between those. That's good work. The only thing that's driving me crazy in this series so far is it seems like in every episode they do this corkscrew camera thing at some point in the episode. And man, I get vertigo like stupid when that happens. I have to like pause it and be like, okay, I need to go look at a wall or something like that for a few minutes. Then I can come back to this. But otherwise, man,
Doctor Strange must be a hard one for you to get through then.
Oh, no, dude, Doctor Strange with the right pharmaceuticals is amazing to get through.
Good to know. Yeah, I gotta say right now, I'm enjoying the ride on this show, and so for me, it's pretty much holding my interest, and I want to see how this resolves. So I definitely say if you're looking for a new show and you want to start watching it, absolutely. And if you're someone who doesn't like delayed release shows for whatever reason, I'll try to get back to you when it's done.
But so far, it's to me, it's like a really good blend between like the high action spy with like the 24 action. Like the time skips and changes are a lot of fun, but also like pretty linear. You can follow them very easily, and also not lose them as they like switch between. So I hate the delayed release, mostly because these cliffhangers are pretty good. Right out the gate, like that's impressive.
Yeah, but delayed release gives us content to talk about for weeks at a time instead of just like, a handful here, No, that's honestly the model that I want to see going forward, and I think would be best is having a like just chunks at a time, like 2 or 3 episodes a week that you can watch at your leisure, and then that way, you're not. You don't necessarily have to binge it all at once, because that's the one thing I don't like about binge shows is you got the people that are just like, yeah, I have no life. I'm going to watch it all consecutively and not even stop to pee. And then you've got those of us like me that like to slow drip stuff. And then you've got, John that like will start a show and then go to another show and then come back and then get the plots mixed up and then come on this show and review it right now. Man, I'm just kidding.
I can't
do that.
I can't do
all the time. I have to write it down now.
Yeah, like I can't do like the super binge shows. Like I refuse to deal with a catheter, so I'm not going to do it. But for me, like,
I will say this. The bingers are at least usually conscious enough to say, hey, does anyone want to, talk spoilers with me in this, chat place? Right. And let's at least abide by the 1 week rule, although 1 week to get through 10 episodes,
Oh no, dude, I always do my rule is ask you what episode you're on.
Yeah.
And then I talk to that. Like,
that's
you haven't seen it yet?
Yeah.
Here's all of the things that it's like.
But
without giving away any spoilers. Like, that's kind of like the way I like to pitch it.
Yeah, so to the bingers out there who don't spoil the show right away, you guys are great. To all the other bingers who just go reckless with spoilers without thinking, no.
Yeah, look, it boils down to this. It's real simple. Look, if you ask before you give spoilers, okay, drop my name when you're trying to get into Valhalla, they'll let you in. If, however, you're the kind of dude that like just spoils with willy-nilly, okay, do you guys remember Firefly? You remember Book? You're going to the special hell.
Their own special hell, actually.
No, it's the same special hell with the people who do inappropriate things with kids and people who talk in the movie theater.
Who talk in the theater, yeah. All right, so real quick, all right, who wants to give their quick non-spoiler, and then we'll dive right in.
Well, I guess the best way to put it is this, like, the problem with trying to non-spoil spy thrillers is there's no way to not do it other than to say...
I can't. I got this one.
Okay, you got it? Let's see it.
Okay.
Let's see this.
So the best way I would describe this, without giving any thrillers away, is it's a very fun twist on an identity crisis, while also starting at the bottom of a recently obliterated empire. Like, there are a lot of things, a lot of moving parts. How everything grew and also how everything fell is going on simultaneously, while also a really fun protagonist, in the sense that it's a changed person for some of the craziest reasons possible and are now permanent.
Yeah.
It's crazy good.
All right.
Scugly, you got a quick non-spoiler bit? Or...
yeah. It's not really my thing, but it's really well made. The production value is just insanely through the roof. It seems like I have nothing but praise for it. It's just kind of not really my thing. But yeah, if you like stuff like The Long Kiss Goodnight, The Bourne Identity, mix that with like the fun elements of The Kingsman, like everybody says, but at the same time, it takes itself deadly serious. So yeah, it's been interesting. I'm waiting to see what happens.
That's a perfect description. Bourne series meets Kingsman.
Yeah. And no, that's great that you're able to find stuff you enjoy out of it, even if it's not your genre. I mean, that's honestly been my favorite part of this show, is getting you guys to like things that you probably didn't think that you would. And it's like, no, I know you well enough that if it's good story, if there's good stuff that you can find, you'll probably enjoy it.
Yeah, like you like super choreographed like fights and like close quarter like gunplay and stuff. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, I do think that is a good alternate title though for this thing, the natural born Kingsman. I think
natural born Kingsman. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. All right, so now we can. We of course watched all 3 episodes that were out because we wanted to get right on top of this thing as quickly as possible. And so, H. Marie adds Chuck TV show maybe. Yeah, kind of.
I mean, I didn't see that myself, but I don't disagree that there's elements there.
Oh, you gotta see Chuck.
No, Chuck season 2 plus. There's a lot of the elements minus the plot.
Okay.
Not the plot, minus the character.
Okay.
Like obviously backstory plays a role into it, and also the character type. Like nerdy hero gets superpowers versus modern dad is also tragic backstory. Like, I think that it definitely has the Chuck elements of like spycraft and superpowers, in the sense that like his muscle memory does still exist, but not necessarily much more than that.
Yeah, and look, I really do think that doing the train scene as the opening, where we kind of get to see the kingdom fall, like Citadel fall, was a fantastic way to open this, right? And we really got a feel for our 2 main characters, right? We got to see how kind of they're the different kind of spies, right? Where Nadia is more of like this, seductress, smooth talking, very rarely has to go into the ultra violence locker. And then you've got our main man, who's just like, no, I'm going to punch a dude first whenever possible because it's just more fun. And, I like that. And I like that they were working as a team and things are coming together and everything is gelling. And then all of a sudden everything gets screwed up, right? We've got both characters. They lose their memory. They're not available to do, they just kind of go about having regular normal lives, and then they're dragged back in because their secrets could wind up being in the wrong hands.
Dude, I feel like this is a really clever attempt at blending all of the things we want in a movie. Like, we want to know how the hero wins. We want to know why they're fighting in the first place. We want to see them also, go through the journey of becoming big and strong.
Yep.
But then we also want to see the aftermath of their demise and what they do after that. And we're getting all of that in a row on this show. Like, I love how we're getting the 8 years later is the main line, because that's supposedly present. And then we've got 10 years back when Nadia and Mason meet. And then we've got 8 years back when everything fell. And then we've got 8 years back, plus or minus the events that led to the critical failure. But then we've also possibly got the full 10 years back. We have no idea how far back the Manicore problem really goes.
Right.
So it's a really fun G.I. Joe Cobra story, and we're getting all of the start at the start.
Yeah.
All the hard parts at the start, which is nice, because it's finally they're audiences are educated enough to skip through the middle if you give them the main elements at least at some point.
Oh yeah, and to make a good spy thriller, you don't just need good relatable characters like what we're getting. You need a really villainous villain, and this ambassador from Britain is 100% that. She has this sweet, kind of friendly demeanor, but then on a dime she switches, and she's like, yeah, if you don't do what I ask you to do, I'm gonna bury you in the rose garden along with your kids. And you sit there going oh, the bad guy's Dolores Umbridge. I dig it. I'm down, right? And she has that super sweet, but crazy evil vibe, and I'm digging that. I really appreciate that level of evil.
Dude, I think that she reminds me of a famous person in America that, may or may not run for presidency, mixed with a lot of the Southern, mafiosa ladies in a lot of Justified type shows. There's always that one Southern mom that just became such a mom in a gangster life from bootlegging on up. And that's who she reminds me of, is a mix of the former candidate for presidency and that Southern mafiosa. And I'm dang, dude, what if they're the same person?
Yeah, so kind of she'll send people out to do a drive-by, but she'll pack their lunches for them.
Yeah, but one of the lunches is poisoned because she found out one of the guys is a narc.
Right, yeah.
And she really doesn't care which one gets the meal.
Right? It's just an example is made and call it a day, right?
If it is an accident, one of the wrong guys eats the wrong sandwich, the other guy's still dead because the other two were informed.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's obviously Kingsman for adults because, Merlin's just basically reprised his role. And,
yeah.
That was the part that was how? And what? Yeah, how did that make it past the pitch? No, how did it make? I agree, it's perfect. I'm not saying it's bad, but how did they manage to convince in the pitch meeting to put him on there? Okay, so
100%. Here's how it went. It was, hey, you know who we really need to play this guy? We need a Merlin type guy from Kingsman, and the dude just happened to be walking down the hallway picking up his paycheck from the royalty check for Kingsman. And he's like, yo, I'll do it. Right? And they're done. Right? Bring him in.
Well, yeah, but I have a feeling that the whole story was written around him. And he was guys, I'm supposed to be the support character. At the very end of the whole screen rewrite. And now we're getting all these other characters.
No, but, he's definitely the main.
He is so much better than Merlin was in terms of he doesn't have to be that British proud, He's got the American, like, I'm kind of my own John Wayne mixed with that British Merlin, and it's so fantastic.
Well,
I
that's what
love
I'd
him
expect if
so
Merlin survived the freaking the
Yeah,
landmine.
he'd just be a bit more of a surly dick. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's
Well,
this
yeah,
is
well, that's why I
exactly
like
the
the 10 years
continuation
back
of the
where he-
character.
Yep.
Well, I like the 10 years back where he's very clearly doing something that is not a video game on his phone, but he still pretends like it is and just takes that as like, oh yeah, I'm just a nerd. And he's like, no, I probably just bombed a whole city.
Yeah, like he probably just called in an airstrike or something, right? But
Yeah, he's like doing 15 different air command strikes like while he's on his phone because he knows how to use his phone at that level because he writes all the code for his other stuff, right? So like, and he's like, yes, I did it. And it's like, I saved 80 people's lives just now. And she's like, what are you doing? He's like, sorry, top score.
yeah.
I don't care what you
Also,
think.
like, do you not like? Am I the only one who is like giving the dude back his cell phone to like prove anything, regardless of what it was like the stupidest thing you could do? Like, I half expected that cell phone to turn into like a fully automatic machine gun or a tank or something like that. Like, you know, like, what the hell, man? Don't give the tech guy a phone.
Right, like he's probably got a taser in there. I know that's what I thought. I was surprised he gave it to him. I'm like, wait, this is everybody knows this move. Oh no, wait, he's actually pulling up pictures.
Right, and then the
okay.
reveal, and you're like, oh
I
shit.
do not like I do really appreciate it because it does kind of feel like small world, big universe. Like they really are making the universe feel huge and disconnected while simultaneously like accidents happen. Look at this. You know, because like it feels like this, like his wife and the mother of his daughter was a Citadel agent just like Nadia, and he holds her memories too, and she doesn't even know it. Because
Well,
like I feel like the big thing he has is like a traumatic experience with a bonded relationship that leads to his memories flashing back, whereas like everybody else probably just was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go grab lunch real quick while I'm on this. Who am I?
Now here's the thing though. I'm gonna put this out there now, and if they do this, I'm gonna be so proud of the scriptwriters. Okay? My going theory right now, her mind was never wiped. Would that not be the perfect friggin' twist?
Oh man, that would.
Right?
Man, that's going along similar lines of the next show we got to discuss, but we're not there just yet. But oh man,
I'm getting another feeling based off of that because if you think about it, so her mind's not twist or not turned off. Nadia got the most robotic, like I can't running backtrace now, like. Just totally like obviously faked transmission, deleted her, but like, so like I kind of feel like Merlin is like he intentionally ruined everything.
Yeah.
But for like it really does feel like he had to already, you know. Like it feels like the only way this was gonna work was exactly the way it played out, and Merlin and they already described it like Merlin's AI, which kind of already feels like Jarvis level connected. Like it really does feel like the whole thing that he is trying to do is get his AI back, and that's really it.
Well, I mean, we'll see, right? But let's be honest. Every character in this show has their own agenda. And we're just like getting a rough idea of whose agenda is what right now. And I feel like we haven't really gotten an agenda from the main's wife yet. And it would be just an amazing frigging move if like her baller thing was her mind was not wiped. And she was there, basically just keeping an eye on this dude. because she actually was in love with him and was like, I can take advantage of this situation and go live happily ever after. But now that everything's coming to light and shit's getting real, she's like got to decide how long she's going to play this game for.
Yeah. Dude, the way you put it, that's like 100% plausible, like thinking back on it. But I also want to say shout out to the writing and acting and the like filmography, because I really got that her actual game was a good mother.
Right.
Like she felt really like wholesome, endearing, proud of the family, but also like not very outstretched of her community. So like her big fear was like, I might have to tell some people, but like as long as my daughter's safe, but also like what is going on, I'm scared. Like she didn't really feel like any ulterior motives, but if you put it that way, like there was the tears, And they felt way deeper than somebody that like didn't know the connection between them.
Right. So there's that. There's the fact that she gave the daughter a knife. The first gift we see her give.
That was Merlin's daughter.
Oh, it was a Merlin's daughter. Okay. But like, so we get to see, like this mom, and you notice how like every once in a while there's this moment where you can see her tactically thinking through things, right? Like when Merlin shows up and takes the family hostage, you can see her go like making a look, like you can almost see the look on the actor's face, like, do I rush him for the gun? Right?
But that's odd because like that seems more like, muscle memory rather than instinct. And if she had never slept, why would she have like run from Merlin like that?
Yeah. Like there's that, right?
But what if
her obvious
memories? What if there's leaks in the memories?
Maybe, right? Or like her obvious hesitation to get into the back of like the capture van, right? Like she knew she was gonna get gassed, right?
Yeah, but also like how much of like this is why I say it was so well acted, is like to me it felt like a lot of mama bear instincts on like a farm lady,
right?
Not some city person who doesn't work out ever type mama bear instincts, where they do have good instincts but not necessarily like aggressive instincts. And that's where she felt like way more like farm lady aggressive instincts. But when you tie all of the story together now the way you did, Corion, I'm like, okay, maybe she has like, but I don't know, like I feel like it's the muscle.
Yeah, no,
like, the way it's described, it could be muscle, but it could also be
right. Like, dude, when I watch these shows, like I do have the conspiracy board up with the red twine and everything, right? Like, like that's how I watch this sort of stuff.
Oh, me too. Like for me, I pointed this out in the back show. I feel like now's a good time as far as like spoilers go, but like 90% sure Nadia's seen like her big don't tell Mason is that she has a child, and it might be Mason's, which is why they went back 2 years when they met and not like a year before the meeting. But in the first episode, we did know that she had been off book for a minute, which is like, that I feel like was like something that they were trying to like make the misdirect of about like everything is a lie. Was like, oh yeah, they're pointing out Nadia. She's like, don't tell Mason. That means that was the meeting with the senator.
Yeah. Hail to you, Mr. the Nerdporial Lifeform. Thank you for stopping by in our chat. We're just talking Citadel, and then we'll be talking Silo, and of course DS9 later. I think we've pretty much got recommendations for all of these across the board. I mean, that's what it sounded like we were talking before the show started. But yeah, I really like this show. Like I said, it's basically like playing 007 Everything or Nothing, or like watching a sort of version of that, but mixed with Bourne Identity and other Kingsman elements as well.
Well, I would say it is the Everything or Nothing James Bond video game in a movie, because like that game was trying to be serious, but it was a game, so you died so many times you had to get sarcastic. Like,
man, I'm sorry, not just the dying part, But they do stuff that's even more ridiculous than in the movies. Like, they have Bond do some really just video game epic stuff, which, don't get me wrong, it's fun.
Bro, this was the snow scene from 10 years ago was beyond a shadow of a doubt the first mission in Everything or Nothing where James Bond is on a dam and parachutes off and is getting swarmed by a group of snow-covered agents. Like,
Also,
except it was daylight.
Yeah, I will say there was one scene though that did bring me out of the whole thing though for a few moments. So you know the building where Manticore took the suitcase to crack the code on it? I actually worked IT in that building. So I kind of
got them to crack the code.
Scogly, I think your
Scogly,
audio is
I
broken.
think your audio, you're not muted, but for some reason your mic didn't want to go through, so damn, because it looked like whatever he had to say was funny.
Yeah.
At least to him.
Go on.
Yeah, so I was just saying, like, you know, and for the record,
How about that?
There we
there
go.
we go.
Say again.
Yeah. Every time I hear the word Manticore, I'm like, immersion is gone, and it happens like every like 30 seconds. It's one of the beast aliens in the Outer Worlds is called a Manticore, and every time I hear that, it's like, I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah. Oh, and at any rate, the I can guarantee you that the building on the inside is nowhere near as exciting as in the show.
Oh, that's a bummer, because that looked really cool. Anyway.
Wait, no, Scogly, that Elder Worlds Manticore reference might actually be a plot point. Like, you know, like Hydra and like Cobra, like they all like kind of play like
they're all like infested in things.
So, like, please elaborate on what this Elder God is and also its origins. Because I really do want to see, like, my theory is a lot of these writers are like actually gamers in their free time, and they're just like, let me write this story better. Because a lot of games didn't have a lot of narrative design coming up, or just, you know, not TV show quality narrative design. So like, it really feels like that's where these inspirations are coming from. So I wonder.
That is, yeah. With the game thing, yeah.
Like, is the Elder? Are you talking about the Elder gods from Skyrim, or are you talking about something else?
No, the Outer Worlds. It's the people that made Fallout New Vegas, Obsidian. Their RPG. They made an RPG, a Fallout like RPG a few years ago called The Outer Worlds, and it's fantastic. But yeah, it's this big like mantis type creature.
Actually, that's dope. That's the kind of vibe I got from Manticore. I don't know. It felt like something from Mandalorian. But
okay, yeah. No, Outer Worlds is awesome. It's really like bright and colorful, beautiful game.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I don't know. I think we got I think releasing having the first 3 episodes come out the way they did was brilliant, because it really gave us a taste for the world. And they did just enough world building in these first 3 episodes to make me want to learn more about this, you know, these secret spy societies running around shooting at each other. Like,
yeah, if I just watched the first episode like on my own without any connection to you guys, I probably wouldn't have carried on.
Right.
After just the first episode, it's like, oh, how did she escape? I don't know. Plot armor, probably the same reason she didn't break her fist when she was beating those guys up. Don't care.
Well,
for him, same thing. Like,
you're kind of hooked.
A grenade.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I didn't find the action to be too unrealistic, because I was watching it closely, and she was definitely using the fighting style to use your opponent's weight against them, and like, I mean, she did get her butt kicked pretty hard too.
Yeah. A couple standout moments when the back on the floor with the shotgun, and Buddy tries to come over the bar, and he just blasts him straight up into the drink display behind the bar. That was awesome. And when they're close combat fighting in the bathroom in the first episode there, and they're like grappling real close, he puts his legs up on the guy's chest and like kicks him against the wall. That was awesome.
Bro, when the way that they displayed her difference from somebody who doesn't know to somebody who does, like, she was trying, but it was so slow and sloppy. versus somebody who's trained. And then as soon as she lights up, like she lights up, like she's just like fluid, deflect, round, slap rather than break your hand on his face, like rotate the opponent into your control, but also be fluid in those movements. And she did the two difference. Like you're like, okay, Mary Sue, but also kind of like literally any hero gets superpowers. Like,
you know,
she finally Moon Knight'd her way awake.
You know, I don't know if I'd agree with that. I think that, look, every time we see her fight, it's all speed and no power, right? Like anytime she gets any sort of like heavy hit, it's because she like picked up something heavy and bonked the dude with it, right?
Exactly.
Like, you know, the rest of the time it's all speed from her. Conversely, the dude is all power and no speed, right? Like,
which is
it
the
actually
worst
works.
fighting style to use. Like,
oh yeah, but the point is, it's two different fighting styles, which means they had to have somebody who really understood fight choreography to do it. And you know, she gets whooped hard often, right? Like, she's a bloody mess after a minor fist fight.
Yeah. Oh,
and
dude,
that's
it's very
perfect.
much like a southpaw type fighter versus like your standard brawler. Like Mason is a brawler, and like Nadia is 100% like the character from the movie Southpaw, where she's like, I'm gonna swing and hit you so many times you didn't know what happened, and you're gonna get a few good hits, but I don't care. I'm gonna win. You're dead.
yeah, it's similar to what Bruce Lee's fighting style was. I mean, that's what the main character
but
in Hitman.
I love that they did the time to do the difference. Like, she was not muscle memory that fast, because the muscle memory that she had to her advantage was not standard. It was literally like berserker. And that's something that's not muscle memory, that's devotion. That's mental discipline. So like, she didn't have it. It didn't exist yet because it was 8 years removed, you know? And so her fighting was like, and like, she did stab him. She was like assertive, but like, she was not aggressive assertive like she is when she has her memory. And I love that, you know, like, we get so many Mary Sue's, like, this is the difference. This is how you do it right. It is you literally just do 1 second of her not being good at all, and then you go, look at this. This is what she just gained. And also, like, poor Mason. Because, like, he needed that too, and he is just getting wrecked.
And, like, also another good point, right? Like, she has, like, this massive steak knife, and she's sneaking up on the dude, and what does she do? Stabs him in, like, the least vital spot she possibly could, right? Like, should she
Like
have
an
her
amateur.
acting, that would have been slipped between a pair of ribs and the dude be done, right?
Or, dude, behind the spine.
Right.
Mind-brain connection, but that's a spy knowledge, not a
exactly.
Was she like a restaurateur, like an owner of a restaurant? Like, and that was dope. Like, I credit to the writers, credit to the that's what makes it fun. Is now we don't have any just automatic heroes. We have everybody has power difference.
Yeah. And like quality difference too. Like, this is well freaking done. And this is how, if you're gonna write, yeah, and like, if you're gonna write a character that you're worried is like on the approach to Mary Sue, this is how you subvert it, right? This is how you make sure it doesn't actually turn out to be a Mary Sue. You let her get hurt. You let her get screwed up. You let her have moments of indecision and worry, right? Like, that's how you fix this.
I'm more into this.
What was that, 5 minutes?
Yeah, I'm more into this character now than I was at the beginning, because she took some damage in the process, and she's not perfect, and she's not the bestest spy ever, you know. And the same can be said.
Even if she does turn out to be, I'm not distracted by it anymore.
Right.
She was the daughter of a spy. That was I think the leader of Citadel or close to. So it's like, okay, you did have privilege, and it's all acknowledged through the story, and all right, fine.
Yeah.
You did everything right. Check. I feel good. I'm enjoying this character a lot.
And then
more.
that's the same. Well, and it's the same with Mason Kane as well. I don't You know, he
I
does. He's
love
not
the
perfect either.
duality of his personalities. I love
Yeah.
that one is like a very like standard American dad type, and then the other is a like perfect description of Archer in live action.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So I think we've covered all that we can. I mean, look at that. Almost 50 minutes worth of discussion there just on those first 3 episodes of Citadel. So I'm definitely
Let's go Silo, man.
looking forward to that. Now let's get into, of course, now back to the roots of our show. Once again, we return to where we came from with Apple TV's Silo. Well, not exactly where we came from. Still waiting on Severance Season 2, whenever the hell that's coming.
Waiting for season 3 of Ted Lasso to wrap up so we can do some fun discussion on that show again.
Oh, yeah, I guess we should do that. Because, yeah, I really like Ted Lasso. Roy Kent is still my spirit animal, but I do try to be more like Ted Lasso.
So does Roy Kent.
I know. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Ted Lasso. We're here to talk about one of the newest and very compelling sort of conspiracy thing. And this one's got... Guys, I think there might be more going on with this story than even what we've been told, and the way we're being told is freaking brilliant, in my opinion. It's definitely a cool way to show, like, oh yeah, here's all the stuff that was happening at the same time that this was going on. And it's just... Yeah, so real quick, non-spoiler overview for me. I'm thoroughly enjoying this after 2 episodes. What really brought me into this world was the soundtrack. Any of you who actually know me know that when I learned to actually play a musical instrument years ago, John, you of course remember this, I really got into movie soundtracks, especially for Star Trek, Star Wars. I had a new appreciation because I could actually hear the different instruments this time, and I could I could feel how music's ability to just bring you into a universe. Like, imagine Star Wars without Star Wars. Okay, just watch Kenobi.
Dude, wait,
and you'll understand what Star Wars without proper Star Wars music is. It's bad.
I have an even worse analogy. Complete rabbit trail. I was watching this show on Netflix and I was like really into it, but I was also playing Call of Duty at the same time, and I was running dual sound through my headphones and the show, and I was so into the show. But at one point I like paused the game and I took one of my headphones off, and I like always have one ear in for like whatever show I'm watching, and I realized that all of the music was the Call of Duty music. And the show actually sucked. 40% integrity. Because I started listening to the show soundtrack alone, and I was like,
God damn, this show's got a great soundtrack.
Yeah. That's how important music is to you.
Really exciting.
Oh my God. Oh, John, that is
awesome, dude.
That is amazing. Call of Duty soundtrack made a show better.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's honestly the best part. Is of all games.
The repetitiveness. It was literally like sometimes I would sit on the same screen where it's like dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, it's got the background.
Yeah, and the composer's just on point.
The story, I was like at one point, dude, there was this epic speech going on. I was like, wow, I feel really empowered. And then it was like 2 minutes later, I took the headphones off and realized that it was part of the like loading screen, like amp you up for the round mixed with that speech. And that was like doing it all the service. Cause like the speech was like really like standard weak, but the music always gets you, man. So the Mongols use drums.
Yeah, it's like why, it's like it makes you wonder about the president's speech in Independence Day. Like, if you have, like, Mary Had a Little Lamb playing in the background, that speech is not nearly as impacting as the way it should be.
There's a theme song to the Wiggles to amp everybody up.
Right, yeah.
No.
If you listen to any song other than John Williams' soundtrack over the Obi-Wan Anakin fight, it is literally just 2 dudes with sticks.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay, but also, like, meh.
Yeah, as I said on the Star Wars special on Thursday, the thing that really just brings the emotional hype in the episode 6 best lightsaber fight in all of Star Wars moment is the music, the soundtrack, because it's Williams. He basically just, along with Luke's emotions, tears, into it with just this very moving yet subtle monk.
He writes all the years of feelings that were never expressed.
Exactly. And it's
Like
in such a powerful, in such a powerful way that you wouldn't expect, like low, octave frequency chanting monks, and yet it's like one of the best fight scenes.
What is that, like Palpatine? Is it Palpatine's theme where it's like,
yeah.
I think part of I think the actual music in that scene, I think the actual composition is called Tears of the Fates.
Yeah.
Which is what that is. I mean, father, son, like completely detached, especially when you're at the weight of the prequels. Like Anakin literally thought he lost everything and then met his son at first in battle. Yeah. Like that's an awkward, meet your dad story.
Yeah. You take that song out of it, you have Mark Hamill screaming no. You have him hitting the sticks hard. You kind of like feel the passion, but it's just.
We've had times where we had to watch it on mute as children, and it was boring, or quieter than we were yelling, and it was like, okay, let's watch the good lightsaber fights. Let's go watch Obi-Wan and Anakin because they had better lighting, better CGI. That's why I get so frustrated. Is like the writing's always been there, the music's always been there. Now the CGI's like caught up. And somehow the other two just vanished. And then you see these writer strikes and you're like, oh, they weren't paid.
Yeah. But getting back to Silo.
Well, that's my point is I have to recommend Silo purely, but like the second that I was in the first like 5 minutes, I was like, I'm here. I'm for it. Let's go. I give a shit about all these people now, and I want to know what the hell is going on. And so, yeah, totally. If you want to start Silo, absolutely. If you're waiting until all the episodes dropped, I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that like, okay, the first 20 minutes of this feels like, what if you bought Fallout on Wish? Like it feels like a very blatant ripoff of Fallout. But when the actual plot kicks in to gear and you start seeing everything going on, that's when this series comes alive and really comes into its own. And you start getting these like, I don't know, am I dealing with Fallout or am I dealing with like an Aperture Lab, right? Like
that's yes. Hit some Portal vibes in the second episode. Right? Definitely.
Like you start kind of wondering that, and then you start, and then things carry on, and you're like, no, I'm not in either of those games. I'm in something totally unique. And, I will say this, the reveals on the minor mysteries we've gotten so far, just in the first 2 episodes, just these really minor ones, are so damn good that when they start, getting into the major stuff, like, that's gonna be deep. Like, there's got to have been some organization that built this thing. Like, I'm gonna call them Vault Tech for now until I've got a better name, right? But, like, I want to know what Vault Tech has really been up to, right? Like, I want to know why the mayor is not the one actually in control of this place. I want to know, why they feel the need to, like, keep these secrets. And that's really deep. And, the characters that we've gotten, like, you would expect in less than 2 hours, we wouldn't get deep enough characters that I want to know more. But we did. And see, even some of the minor characters, some of the characters like we shouldn't care about, I really do. Right? There's this like this isn't really spoilery, but there's this one cop that works on the bottom floor of this bomb shelter that, like, now I'm actually concerned for this dude, right? And
Yeah.
like he's really just there as like exposition-o man, and yet I'm sitting there going like, no man, I want to make sure this guy makes it home.
Yeah.
You know, like,
It's just like it's genuine concern. I'm like,
right, you know,
for like
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
and you know, like, we're like, how are these poor people being manipulated, and like, why, and you know, all of these pieces, and I can't wait to see how they pull together. You know, and like, you know, part of this is, you know, like, what the hell is going on the outside of the silo, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, we'll
Like, I can't wait to get into more spoilery stuff, but
I
for
know.
now, that's all I can say.
Any
right?
quick last comments for just non-spoiler overview?
Well, okay, so I will say, I didn't get the chance to finish the 2 episodes.
Oh man.
Shame.
In
Shame.
the first,
Oh,
all the
man.
way up to the
Shame.
theme song,
Yeah, we gotta get
Shame.
we gotta get a chick with the bell to follow
Shame.
behind.
I was
John.
hooked immediately.
Shame.
If I wasn't so tired, I
Shame.
would have continued.
Shame.
But
Shame.
in those,
Shame.
like,
A little
this
help.
is this is the preposition
Shame.
for everybody else trying to like decide
Shame.
if they want to watch it. Like in those,
I need to
5
think of a
minutes,
way to incentivize you to not bail on your homework, damn it.
It's fantastic. Like I hear you guys talking about like the twist that you already get, and like for me, like one of the most obvious ones is the screens. Like they're the worst version of like picture in a camera that I've seen. And also like Apple's never had bad film yet. Like it's never been that bad, so it has to be a story element to me. And that's just in literally the first 2 minutes or like whatever between the beginning scene and the credits is. I was like, okay,
Well,
there's already programming.
Well, like all of the computers in the silo kind of have this retro future thing going where like the interface looks like it's from the 80s. So I don't blame the video quality at all, because like the rest of the quality of the, you know, the aesthetic matches it.
No, yeah, no, that's why I say it was definitely like very apparent to me that it was a story element.
I also,
Like it was not a prop failure. It was literally like right in the first 5 minutes, I was like, something's going on. Something's wrong. And that was it. Like that's all I've got so far. But like that's what I mean by how good this show is like literally in that scene, if I wasn't tired, I was hooked already.
It's absolutely bone chilling, this show. Like there's been like 4 or 5 moments where your blood just runs absolute cold with like existential dread. I'm just like, bro, I got a very sick masochist for like existential dread. Like, whoa, love that stuff. The 3-body problem is awesome.
then I recommend
Holy
watching.
smokes.
I recommend watching Free Solo then, if you haven't already.
Oh, dude, yeah, that is so good. Have you seen
So
The
good.
Alpinist? Have you seen The Alpinist?
No.
Marc-Andre Leclerc? Watch it. So good. So it's just as good, if not better, than Free Solo. Free Solo is awesome.
I know, it always gets
If you
my
like Free Solo,
palms
you'll
sweaty.
love The Alpinist. The
Yeah.
Alpinist is great.
No, I'll definitely check it out. Yeah, all right. So I think we've covered all the non-spoilers. We recommend if you aren't watching this show, you should. And if you don't believe us and need more proof, well, we have entered spoiler territory. I think the best part about talking spoilers this far, though, is actually it's not really going to ruin a whole lot for John because we still have no idea what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
in
we
these
No.
two
still barely have
episodes.
any
I'm
idea what the
fucking
hell is
baffled.
going on.
Like, a lot
Baffled.
happens, but wow, do we just know nothing.
A little behind the scenes, I switched to watching this. I want to figure out what's going on. I'm so hooked.
Oh,
Your guys'
oh my God.
enthusiasm made
Okay,
me
so first-
enthusiastic. I'm doing this.
Okay, so first I'm just gonna put this out there. Man, the sheriff's wife, like,
And
gut wrenching. What happened?
Yeah,
to her.
dude. Holy fuck.
Right?
Sorry.
Yeah, like that. No,
This
dude,
one.
justified.
It
man.
was, yes, absolutely.
And I mean, like, and then the sheriff, like, just the grief, and then realizing, wait a minute, she may not be dead. And that being even worse, right? Like, can you imagine, like, literally you were living, you know, for 2 years in a place where every time you go by a monitor, you're seeing your dead wife?
Her body's just laying there like 30 feet out. You just have to see it every day. Oh my god.
Right? Like, I
Jesus.
can't think of a deeper form of torture, right? And then you actually get outside. She ain't there.
Yeah. And she's not there. Yeah.
Right? You know, for all you know, she's like found a mango tree and is just hanging around it, right? Like, you know, or like she's like
But,
discovered the Mai Tai bush or something. Like, who knows, right? Like,
I'm just baffled by the fact that when he like pulls off his helmet though, and you still see it from his perspective, and you're like, but why?
You don't see anything from his perspective after he pulls his helmet off. That's the real kick in the balls. And it's like, what does he see?
Okay, yeah.
Does he actually see her lying there, or is he?
Well, no,
is it?
When we see the scene, if you slow it down, because I did, right? There is no other bodies in view. In that
Right,
whole
when
area.
he's in the nice land, yeah.
Yeah, there's no other bodies in view at all. And, you know, he's not, like, you sit there going, like, they must have found shelter or a decent place to go near enough to this crater that the silo is in to be able to live, man. And that's crazy.
They get thrown out of the silo, and they all swear tooth and nail that God damn it, I'm not going to clean the thing. Like, screw you guys. I bullet in my head. I'm not cleaning it. He goes out there and cleans it. It's like...
They always clean.
But that's because...
They always clean it.
Yeah, but that's because they're trying to show everybody they're, you know, no, it's actually good out here. You guys are being
I don't know
ridiculous.
that it is, though. That's the problem, is I think they were projecting all of that in the helmet.
I do
think
too.
so, huh?
I do,
Yeah.
because when he takes it off, the camera is fixated right on his face, so we don't actually know if he sees happy unicorn fairy tale dust land or, you know, depressed Detroit-looking land. I mean, it's we just don't know, and so that's why I'm just like, and I knew this obviously is going to be the big tease for the whole season, is like, we aren't actually going to find out probably until the very end. But instead, the show's going in a direction that I honestly didn't see coming, because I think the thing is, the surface is a red herring. The show's real focus is about that tunnel.
Down below.
Yeah.
It's so deeply compelling. I just almost can't bear it.
And, I mean, okay.
The only way
here's
out is
another-
to go down.
And here's the other piece of it that I noticed that, like, I'm really curious about now. Because they keep mentioning about, like, the computer or the system or whatever, right? Who's actually in control of that computer, or are they being controlled by computer?
Yeah.
Like, are we dealing with a freaking God, the AI, the homicidal AI from Portal? Are we dealing with that, or are we dealing with something else?
Looking at the computers and thinking about, you know, the display stuff for Borderlands and for Fallout, as well as what was the one you just listed?
Portal.
Portal. Well, I don't know about Portal, but I mean, between Fallout and Borderlands, to what John was saying, what you guys are hinting at, I could see them deciding to tie this into one of those universes very easily. And, like, this could be the jumping off point for a potential TV series about Fallout or whatever. Because, I mean, you're right. It does feel like... I don't know. I like it so far. I mean...
Yeah.
It's taking turns that I did not expect. And yeah, what a rough 2 years. You know, I get up before the sun's up, and I leave after this. I don't go home until after the sun's down, because I don't want to walk past and see her every single day. It's just like, ugh.
Right?
Man.
Gotta walk through the cafeteria. And is every window that same display?
Yeah, it's the same camera. That's just rough, man.
It's just like being on a national security cutter. You get your one channel to tune into the ship's FLIR camera that's mounted on the top, and everybody gets the same view because there are no windows.
Every request to leave the silo is granted. No takebacks. No exceptions.
Yeah, exactly.
I want out. That's it. You're gonna go out.
You just committed suicide.
That's it.
Yeah. No, that's some. I wanna know. Like, first of all, yeah, that's the other thing. Like, it's obvious social commentary to what's going on in our world. All the veils that are getting ripped off right now are finding out that, oh, hey, as it turns out, there's just a few thousand details throughout most of human history that point out that we've just been manipulated by some families into hating each other over dumb reasons. But, you wouldn't know that because most of our history was deleted, and we just assume that the rebels were the bad guys and the founders are the good guys because that's what history says, and therefore it must be true.
I'm gonna actually pose this piece to you, okay? I'm calling my shot right now. There was no rebellion. There absolutely was no rebellion. That the getting rid of relics, getting rid of the past and everything is a method of control by whatever the hell is controlling the silo.
Oh, the rebellion was definitely created by the controlling state. Absolutely.
I don't think a rebellion happened at all, man. Or if it happened,
I think it totally did, and it was a false flag rebellion all around. Absolutely.
It makes no sense to me that they can't have relics from the past, like innocent things. Like, I can understand why they can't have an old hard drive with schematics for the silo in it, or anything like that. But like a Pez container, like this is a relic from the past. You can't have this. This is a punishable offense. You can be sent out to clean for this. It's like, Jesus, like, why? Like, it's presented that it's a tragedy that their past has been erased, but nobody's allowed to have these simple items from the past. It doesn't make any sense.
It absolutely does.
Fallout sense.
Well, no.
As far as like a controlled experiment, like all of these, like it really does feel like. I don't know for sure because I obviously.
Oh, you guys think it's rats in a maze?
But far, just like based off your guys' discussion and what I'm already seeing so far, I'm watching it 2 times speed so I can hear the details, see the details, but not paying attention. I really want to rewatch it. I'm already excited. I love Anne from Parks and Rec. She's one of my favorite actresses, so great to see her in something more like thrilling.
Yeah.
But on top of that, like, the way I'm seeing it, like Skogly, to your point, like I really do think that the main thing about the relics is this is like, what if they started a social experiment that was borderline culty, but they always kept that one rule: if you want out, you're out. Like, don't take it back, no take backs. Like, that's choice, and we're not going to take that from you. But like, it got dark. Like Stanford prison experiment 140 years later.
See, my theory on what's going on is whoever is in charge of this, whether it's an AI, whether it's some overseer dude, like whatever it is, okay, intentionally erased the past and is doing everything they can to erase the past as a method of thought control, right? Because if they make the past dangerous, right, they prevent people from being curious about the outside. And the reason why you can go outside if you want to, but we see the bodies of everyone who went out.
Yeah, I mean,
the reason why they set that up is purely because they want to make sure it's a message to everybody else to never try it.
It reminds me of a red revolution in the eastern part of the world. Like, they literally eliminated all of the school teachers, and still to this day very censor like the amount of history people are allowed to learn. So it's a very like doctored and controlled, like slow drip. And so like even the like big stories of the chaos are just littered among the mundane and the monotonous of like, this has always worked, stop making it not work. Yeah, there was, all right, okay, maybe might have been some chaos, but like a long time ago. Let it go. Don't think about it. Look at the monotony. Look at the system. And like, there's a lot of studies that show that works, like Stockholm syndrome, loving your captor. Eventually, like, if you keep getting gaslit enough, you're going to believe that, like, why even bother looking? It's going to get you hurt for no reason. Because A, it's just history. It's just an artifact. It's just a piece of plastic. Like, why should I care? But then also be like, it also doesn't matter because they keep telling me it doesn't matter. And at this point, I just don't have time to care. Like that.
You notice that too, that everyone is kept very busy. Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like everybody has a job all the time, every time.
Everything is like sanctioned.
Where have we seen this? It's like we seems familiar. Oh, it's our existence right now. Just imagine the silo is planet Earth, and you can't go beyond planet Earth because you'll die, right? Because there's no oxygen. All right, that's probably true. Actually, there is oxygen, just very thin. No, it's brilliant social commentary. It's one of the reasons H. Marie's a little disenfranchised at the moment, because she's like, oh, this type of story has been played out. And I'm like, well, let's just see how it goes, because it's going directions that at first, yeah, it definitely sets it up, the usual dystopia. We're controlling all the information. No one's allowed to do anything. But now we're figuring out that the way out's probably further down. I'm convinced that I feel like there's a third thing that we're just not considering here. And that's because, like I said, we don't actually see what he sees after he takes his helmet off. Whether he actually sees the shitty environment that's projected on their world, or whether he sees the nice place that he saw through his helmet that looks like it could just be a 3D projected environment in there. I don't know what he saw, so the speculation kind of.
Oh, 100%. There could be this massive twist that, like, the outside is actually, like, some sort of holographic projection, and, like, when you walk out, some, like, science geeks come over and are like, so congratulations, you found your way out of the maze, right? Like, that could 100% happen, right? Like, we don't know, but it'll be super interesting to find out.
Like, basically,
What if this is, like, a way of, like, like, people always talk about, like, sheeple and stuff. Like, everybody who just stays in here and never declares their anonymity and their own personhood.
I am leaning towards that what we see projected in the silo after they leave is after they leave, they see that, right? And they see them walking around and they clean it. That's all real. Okay, but after they die, I think that once night comes along, that's when they, the video goes on a loop because it's at night. They already have footage of him there. So they probably might even wait like a whole day so they could cycle it, right? So then they have the footage playing. So then they go and then they wake him up and they're like, hey, you escaped the maze. Come enjoy the rest of this. No, you can't rescue your friends because that's not part of the game. Oh, and here's your wife, by the way. She got remarried. Sorry. So...
And also, here's your money for participating. Your family's the one that originally, like it could be that, like, a very, like, or even more.
Oh my gosh, are you going the Severance route, where it just turns out they've only been there for like a couple of years as part of a social experiment, and they had their minds wiped?
Well, no, that's not the social. It's not a social experiment yet. Like, it's still like an ongoing experiment in maintaining office in anonymity, and they're trying to replicate it for the whole world, which is just dystopian nightmare. But that Severance, I was thinking more along the island with Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, where it turns out they're all clones, and this is how you get rid of the anomalies. You literally let them out.
Yeah, no, I think that the hard drive might be. This is why I think that the rebellion was also either didn't happen as Corione suggests, or if it did, it was a red herring element of the state to create chaos to justify erasing history. But they keep some of it that they disseminate every now and then to see what people are going to get curious about it, and then if they get curious about it, who else they're going to tap to get curious about it. So as they start to get more and more curious, people go, no, man, it's all a lie. I found the file. It's all nice up there. And then they go, all right, I want to go out. And then they go out, and then they have the helmets projecting that nice environment that they saw on the hard drive, but really that's just how they get rid of the ones that they don't want disrupting the order.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll grant you that that's possible. I don't know, man. I'm hoping that they go the Vault Tech route and, like, you know, there's actually multiple silos out there and each one has its own, like, weird experiment stuff going on. Like, I want to find the, like, you know,
the cabin
vault
in the
that's,
woods.
Well, I was going to go with the vault that's, like, you know, started with
everybody's
100
name
women
is
and
Bruce.
one dude, right? Yeah. Or, like, everybody's named Bruce or something, like...
Everyone's got the last name Johnson.
Or, like, what is it? It's like 15 girls, 15 guys, and one puma, right? Like, that's how the whole thing got started. Like, you know, I don't know. Or, like, one dude and an army of sock puppets. Like, I want to see crazy vaults, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's... it's going places. What?
Why are they cleaning a projection at all? And, like...
Because it's...
I do get the, like,
muted.
social manipulation aspect
Scogly's
of
muted.
it.
Because, like, there's a projection, there's this window in the cafeteria to show all the civilians that it's nasty outside. And
Right.
when they go outside, they're like,
The
you have to...
camera's dirty.
The camera lens is dirty. They go out there and they're like, they get sent
like
out
the
to
front
clean it,
door,
but
like,
they're like, you're outside the law. Nobody can make you clean it. And everybody swears they won't clean it when they go out, but they go out and then they clean it every time. It's crazy.
Well, that's
yeah, like,
right.
I feel like
like,
if
I
I was
just
the guy
watched-
who walked out, I'd be putting more mud on it.
Well, no, so
Yeah.
I just watched her explain it to him. She said, if it is what I think it is, I will wave back and I won't clean it. If it's not,
I'll not clean it. I'll wave goodbye. It was the biggest mistake of my life. But if it's beautiful out there, I'm going to come forward. I'm going to clean the lens and I'm going to walk over the hill. That's what she does, except she dies on the ground as she tries to walk up the hill. That's what they see, though.
Right. So what if that's not what happened? What if
That's
that
not
is
what
literally
happened.
just,
I think she just walks off the hill and then like an AI program just takes the image and they're like, nah, she dies here. Boop.
That's what yeah, something like that
what if
too.
it was
Deep
one of the
They deep
original
fake, yeah,
haulers?
what happens,
What if
yeah.
what if the top is clean now? And so, like, what if they're literally playing legitimate recycled footage from the beginning, from the first exit?
No,
And so it is always the same, like, I'll clean it and walk away.
no,
and, like,
it's no, because when she dies, she's there at the yeah, she's there forever, along with all the other dead guys.
No,
out
I
there.
know, but that's what they've been leaving it at. Because the sheriff, the main person the AI needs to keep order and discipline, needs to see his dead wife on the hill at all times.
Yeah.
Like, and what if it is not, like, what if it's just a matching suit and it's legitimately like, no, this guy died a long time ago.
H. Marie writes in, I think the suits poison them to make it look like they die. Then there is a colony somewhere over the horizon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think H. Marie's probably.
I'm on
pretty
board
close
with
to
that.
Yeah.
A giver type situation.
Because he starts to choke out and he like pulls his helmet off and they're all like, watch, like nobody's ever pulled their helmet off before, and then he just dies on the ground. But that's
Yeah, I was actually
obviously
Yeah, I was
not
actually
what's
thinking
happening.
more like the Maze Runner. Actually, if you guys have ever seen that,
Heard of it?
and if you haven't, it's worth checking out. But yeah, I don't know, man. You know what the other piece of this that got me was the last few minutes of the second episode, where she's dangling over the water. And hear me out
drops
on
the
this.
light.
Yeah, but did you notice something? She
kept
dropped the
going.
light. No, but she dropped the light. The light only kept going for a few minutes and then it vanished. I don't know how much you guys know about how lights and water work. That would have kept you would have seen that light for a long time in a cave. A very long time. It should have hit bottom, and you'd still see that light. The fact that it just kind of vanished either tells me that somebody on the EP team was not paying attention to how the real world works, or
Something deeply horrifying just happened.
yeah, there's something shady going on in that tunnel as well.
Well, all I know is I'm on board for it this week to watch more. I can't wait for Thursday and Fridays again. And yeah, I mean, we got some good shows to get us to the next season of Strange New Worlds. But to also continue to carry us through Strange New Worlds when it starts, we of course still have our watch through of Deep Space Nine, John's very first watch through. Hopefully didn't get too much of it spoiled with Picard, but I think by the time we get to the juicy stuff, he'll have to go back and watch Picard again, and hopefully appreciate it more. This week we reviewed 2 great episodes of Deep Space Nine. This is actually, I think, where DS9 really gets started, but you probably wouldn't know that if this was your first time. But what do you think so far, John? You got through you at least did the DS9 homework, right?
No, unfortunately, I missed those as well.
Oh,
But, dude, it has been a
dude.
stressful few weeks for me, for sure. I've been falling behind quite a bit on a lot of things.
Dude,
All right.
These 2 are where things get dialed up to 11.
I do go back. I'm catching up. I'm there.
All right.
I'm slow right now. The weekly schedule is hard for me in terms of like things pile on and then it's been a month.
Yeah.
Well, I totally
man.
get that.
So, I mean, let's talk about Blood Oath. So this is the first episode of Deep Space Nine that I would call a Klingon lore heavy episode. And when I say Klingon lore heavy episode, they really went hardcore with the lore on this particular piece, because they brought back the 3 Klingon captains that appear in the original series: Kor, Kang, and Koloth. Or as I would say, very bad ass, right? These guys are the OG, just titans of the Klingon Empire. If Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are like the Federation's like idols, Kor, Kang, and Koloth are that for the Klingon Empire.
Yeah.
Right? They are just beasts and amazing guys. And it turns out all 3 of them knew Curzon Dax. And not only did they know Curzon Dax,
Yep.
but he was the godfather to one of their sons.
Yeah.
And then all 3 kids are killed by some evil dude.
Yeah.
And
So
of course, go for it.
I was gonna say I'll go ahead and just get the storyline, and then we can dive right in.
Yeah, hit it, man.
Quark calls in the help of Odo to remove an old drunken Klingon keeping a holosuite occupied. His name is Kor, and he is visited by Koloth, another old Klingon who leaves him again when he finds out Kor is drunk. When Dax hears about it, she immediately recognizes their names. They were friends of Curzon Dax, and when the 2 are joined by yet another Klingon, Kang, Jadzia knows why they're on the station. In the past, Curzon made a blood oath with the 3 to kill the albino, a bandit who was defeated by them. He swore revenge and killed their 3 firstborn sons, including Dax's godson. For a lifetime, they tried to find him, and Kang now finally located him. Koloth and Kang, however, are disappointed to discover Curzon is dead. They don't want to take Jadzia along. While she feels she must fulfill the oath, she tries to convince Koloth and Kang to change their decision. Shout out to Arnud Teal, I believe is how that name is pronounced, for the well-articulated storyline. Yeah, I mean, this episode alone, we get a ton of continuation of Klingon lore, and really just actually, I mean, yes, if you watch the original series, you would definitely enjoy this episode for sure, seeing these guys again. But the original series is an acquired taste, especially for a lot of new fans.
I would also say you don't even really need it for this one.
You don't really need it. You probably need maybe 10 or 20 TOS episodes to really appreciate the whole of Star Trek with TOS references. I would, of course, it's probably higher. I haven't actually watched them in a minute, and I'd probably have better perspective on some of the storylines. But what can be very disillusioning for other new fans is the acting and a lot of the stuff. And there's only so much that throwing out the line, it's a piece of its time can really do. Like, I've become more empathetic to people because people try to get me to watch their shows, and I'm like, wow, this is just CGI slop everywhere. And oh, you think it's good though? Well, okay, I'll try. So yeah, it's different visuals can hinder potentially great stories. Sadly, well, I'm more and more convinced that those who dislike anime are just very misguided at this point, because anime can also be a great medium to tell stories. And
cartoons are for kids.
Yeah.
I would say it's so much of the kids listen to their parents. Like, I mean, a lot of books growing up got disparaged because they weren't the New York Times bestseller. Turns out New York Times bestseller is super biased, always has been. A lot of movies and shows have been completely disparaged. Turns out the ESRB, or the ratings board for movies and for video games, is super biased. It's like, it turns out that like everything that we were told is good was like some dude's mom.
Yeah, like, that's why on this show,
moms, I don't ever trust them to tell their kids what good is.
Yeah,
I do expect them to say what is appropriate.
That's why on this show, and on the TWB network, we're never ever going to tell you what to enjoy and what is good. We are going to tell you what each of us individually thinks is good and why we love the things we love, or just generally like the things we like. That is
tell you what we like about the things we all like.
Right. And we also, we're not opposed to trying new stuff either. It's just a matter of it's a matter of personal taste.
We tried Halo.
We did try Halo.
That's what we do. Like, we will try. If we're like, no, that was bad. We knew it was gonna be bad. We knew it was gonna not be good. So we were like, we're trying.
Dude, guys, if we're reviewing, like, if Silo, for example, and I'm not wishing to manifest this into existence, so dear universe, disregard the following. If Silo, just for hypothetical sake, turns out like we hit that, middle of the season episode, and we're just like, what? If it pulls a foundation on us, like, what the hell is happening here? Why is this getting bad?
If it turns out that it's like a time capsule of tiny people, and it's actually a giant story about Indian in the cabin, like,
it turns out the surface is just giant ants.
Really weird, but
like if it pulls something ridiculous on us, right? Like, it turns out that this is actually like some experiment by a group of aliens who like captured some humans, cloned them, and tossed them in a cellar to see what the hell would happen. Like, I'll be out, okay? And I'll be honest why I'm out, but that'll be the last you hear of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm not afraid to bail from shows if they start going bad. Like, I'm not gonna go full Clockwork Orange on you guys and make you watch every single thing that I want to watch. I mean, you guys have brought stuff that I was like, honestly, this is gonna suck, but I ended up liking it somehow. And so that's what I love about doing this show. That's why I'm excited to do it forever, because we do it for fun and we do it to share our ideas, and we want to create a place of free exchange of ideas. And that's why you will never tell. Our recommendations are our recommendations because we like stuff. You might not agree with all of our recommendations, and that is okay. Please say so if something's not working. Please feel free to send us suggestions of content you think we might like and might want to try and review. We are open to trying. But we will never tell you how to think. We will never tell you what content is for sure. I mean, unless we all universally agree something is terrible, like Halo, at the same time, talked to people on Reddit who claim to have unironically liked the show. Glad it got something for you. I'm glad that, because a lot of hard work did go into that show, and I would hate for it to totally go to waste. It's just not for me. Actually came up on Twitter, funnily enough, with Halo. Someone asked, what would you change? And, besides throwing out everything, what would you change in the Halo? And I'm like, I wouldn't throw out everything. I'd keep the aesthetics. The aesthetics were on point. And Pablo can still play Master Chief in the suit. That's fine, too. Steve Downs is going to voice him. Like, there's no one else.
I feel like the Actman did probably the best recreate I've seen so far, because it was like, let's not take any fan canon aside from like a few books that are very obviously connected to Combat Evolved. And from there, I will like CGI and everything else is fine, because it was good.
Yeah.
And his whole goal, he was like, he did the best one I've heard so far, because like, he was like, look, everybody knows, especially when it comes to things like Paramount Plus, NBC, Peacock, all that stuff, they're going to want the romantic interest, because like everybody says you're not supposed to market to the entire audience. You're supposed to pick a target audience and market to them. But like every executive is like, yeah, that's true, but add in what we want. And so the romantic interest had happened, and Ackman did the best, because he was like, where was Sergeant Johnson? Like Sergeant Johnson was the man who knew what the ladies wanted. And like, that's the, like to me, I feel like Master Chief, as far as like TV show goes, he's your Superman. He's the guy that shows up in the final scene, whoops everything up, and takes care of it. But Sergeant Johnson is your TV show story. Yeah. That dude's life, no matter what he's doing, A, hilarious, B, action John Wick awesome, and C, hilarious. Like,
you know what I would have actually done with the Halo series? I would have found the dudes that made the Forward Onto Dawn movie, and I would have said, do this. And I would have actually would have done one more thing, and that's, I would have shown them the entire series of the 60s Japanese series Samurai Yoshida, which the basic premise of the series is, it's not really about the samurai, it's about his retainers. They show up in a town, realize there's some sort of problem, try to fix it, get screwed up trying to fix it, and then the samurai actually shows up, fixes the whole thing. Everyone apologizes to him for, not being able to fix it on their own. And then the episode ends. That is how you do a Halo series, is, Johnson and his team drop, they start dealing with whatever problem, they get into a big hairy furball, and somebody calls to open the silent casket, and the Master Chief comes down, wrecks the enemy sideways, and then goes, guys, you could have solved this by doing XYZ.
You also could have done the 24 Jack Bauer method. Yeah. Where Master Chief is on his own, stuck, fully for sure, cannot join the troops. But the main character is still, or not even the main character, but the other main character, the co-main, is Sergeant Johnson. Because, he was funny. He was fantastic. And, they're trying to do the whole start. I feel like even if you can't get, is it Michael Downs?
Yeah. Steve Downs.
Steve Downs. If you can get Steve Downs to do the voice, you should have.
Oh, you totally can. He hasn't retired yet. He does cameos for people still. He's awesome.
It feels like he should have literally just done the freaking Darth Vader, John Earl Jones, or not John Earl Jones, James Earl Jones, just James doing Jones, the voice, And I really feel like I don't know, I get that these executives really want to make these stories good, but really what you need is to just throw money at it. This is one of those times where throwing money at it is the answer. Find the people that are already doing it right, i.e. Red versus Blue, Rooster Teeth, or the Forward Unto Dawn series, and then throw money at that. Like those guys just need teams that they can coordinate to make the visuals prettier.
Yeah.
They don't need stories or scripts or, you know, casting and all that stuff. They've already got all the voices. They've already got the characters. So like all they need is maybe body doubles because none of the characters take their masks off. Like, that's super cheating. You know, you've already got the voices. Now you just need to hire some extras to wear the suits. Like,
But
that
we
to me,
should
I
get-
feel like is why, like, when they say they're throwing money at it, hundreds of millions of dollars on the Rings of Power, like most of that money was obviously spent on the rights because the rest of the show was the worst version of fan fiction I've ever seen, and it really feels more than anything like SparkNotes fiction. Like somebody tried and they were like, yeah, let's write a whole freaking story.
Okay, but that being said, we should get back to Deep Space Nine.
Well, Deep Space Nine is the answer because that's what they did with Star Trek as an example is the best because as Gene Roddenberry fell out, other people came in and took on the mantle, and they were fans.
Well,
They were passionate, they cared, and they not only did they care, but they knew, like they were knowledgeable. Like for me, I'm not worthy of writing a super anthology style Star Wars. I can definitely write a better sequel trilogy just because I know all of the characters that are already in it, like for that time period, and it wouldn't break any lore in depth, but like I'm not worthy of being the showrunner for that. Like in no way, because like I'm not that in tune. I don't know all the rules for those physics. I don't know all the rules for all the powers and all the trainings and all the different sects. I know a lot of people who do though. And I'm not famous. I'm not popular. And yet I still know Star Wars fans that know leagues more than me.
Yeah.
And yet, like somehow these showrunners who literally could call every single one of them at any time and just be like, hey, like we've seen your fanfic. Like we would like you to be one of our assistant writers. Your main task is going to assist in guidance. You're not really going to do a lot of the writing because we paid real people that have already made money and know what they're doing to do that, but you're going to help them do it right.
Yeah, so I don't know. For me, getting back to this episode and kind of getting back to the flow of this one. Look, it's not just about the classic characters coming back. It's not just about the lore. This is a very character heavy episode for Jadzia.
oh yeah.
And we get deep characterization work for her, like very deep, because we've gotten an episode or two already where we've been told very clearly that the responsibilities and promises of the old host have no bearing on the new one. And yet Jadzia's like, no, this is different. This is important. I've got to do this. And she goes out of her way to try to impress, cajole, or straight up slap fight whoever's going to stand in her way of this. There's actually a scene where Sisko's trying to prevent her from going on this damn fool crusade. And you get the impression that Jadzia is ready to slug her best friend to be able to get out of the room so that she can get going. And that is the level of dedication we're getting from her and why it's so damn important. And then, when we see her using her unique skills, what she brings as a host to the problem throughout the episode, yo man, it just builds how much of a mosaic this character is. This character is like 15 people practically, it rolled up into one, and one of them happens to be like Klingon warrior Barbie, and it friggin' works. And you know what? We also get really satisfying endings to some really iconic heroes from the series, right? We get this would be Klingon Beowulf, right? Like this is like an epic that I am sure is being sung about in some Klingon theater for like years to come because of how important these guys are to the Empire. and how much respect and love these guys have, and them going out like bosses on a vengeance quest that they complete is like the coolest thing they could have gone out doing. I mean, you know, like, you can only imagine what the news of how that all went down when word got back to the Klingon Empire of how that all happened, right?
You know what this episode was the equivalent to?
Hmm?
This was basically a follow-up sort of TOS reunion for the Klingons. This was basically the equivalent of a Picard season 3.
Yeah.
It's a revenge story, which, okay, this does bring my issue up. So, some of the Federation ideals I do agree with to this extent. I am, and always will be, pro-death penalty. Now, I am okay with our system being scrutinized to the point where you need, like, absolute proof. Because let's just think about this logically for real quick. Mass shooters. Is that somebody you think can be rehabilitated to function in normal society? Because if you kill more than, like, 3 or 4 people in a single setting, you gotta go. And we can't be draining state resources. There's no coming back from that, in my opinion. 1 murder, maybe. 2, pushing it. But in a single setting where you kill a bunch of people, especially children, no. And that's the other issue that I have, is like people who harm children. You are so far morally bankrupt at that point. Like, I just don't see a point of keeping someone around at that point. So that's why, like, I think Jadzia is 100% justified in this quest, not just because she wants to, you know, keep cultural relations between the Federation and the Klingons intact, which is what a quest like this has the benefit of doing, but it's also, the dude killed children.
Yeah.
That's not something you don't want somebody like that around at all.
No.
So that's where I think the Federation, you know, yes, we believe in preservation of life, okay? Somebody that murders 4 people or even murders children, that's not a life. That's person's given up their life. They are now an existence and a drain, and they need to be, you know, taken out before they kill any more people. And that's where I disagree with the whole, well, you know, you murder a murderer, you just create another murder. And it's like, well, no, there's a difference between murder and justice. And justice for child killers and mass shooters, I think, there's no other option than the death penalty. Now, after that, yes, I agree. If there's evidence isn't enough, and then because we have put innocent people to die, and we can't be putting innocent people to death. That does need to be fixed. That's where I do agree with the human life matters above all situation. It is better to let 100 murderers go and deal with them in the streets with our guns than it is to let one innocent man die, because the evidence just wasn't supportive enough. So, yeah, basically, long roundabout way of saying, I'm Team Jadzia. Cisco should have recognized, and obviously does recognize it for what it is. There's no violation of Federation values, because this is somebody that is clearly a threat to...
Well, this is Klingon law,
yeah,
right?
Well, yeah. It's Klingon law, and your Klingons are your allies. And so it's a threat to the stability, you know, potentially, because while these guys seem like washouts, they're still Dahar masters. They still have reputations. They can still affect the political wave of Klingon culture with their names. You kind of want to, you know, that I'd rather get those favors than, you know, be worried about staying, you know, some misguided sense of superior morality.
And like another piece that I do want to bring up, because you mentioned the Dahar master, and so did Skogli in the chat.
Yeah.
Yo, Skogli. You know, it's not like it's just a Klingon thing, this Dahar masterpiece, right? Because when Odo realizes that this dude in his jail cell, who's been drunk and singing for the last 26 hours, is actually a Dahar master, you can see his eyeballs practically bug out like, oh, I done screwed up, and I have to apologize, you know, right now, because, you know, I've locked up, like, either, you know, like, I'm not sure whether it's the equivalent of the Pope or a head of state or whatever, maybe a little of both, but it's still definitely like this serious moment. And you start to realize the stakes here. These are not like, washed up, retired, loser Klingons. These are like peak Klingon. And, they're doing what their culture demands of them. Right? And in fact, if you really take a look, this episode actually bridges really well into the next episode, because you've got the Federation, which has its idyllic, like our idyllic utopian set of laws and world, but that doesn't work outside of the Federation. That isn't. It's easy to be an angel in paradise.
Yeah,
this
it is
paradise.
But also at the same time, I don't even think it works in the Federation either. I think the Federation does have too many rules and regulations that it needs to change and adjust. I mean, even looking at this show now, like this isn't, for me, this isn't like my first time analyzing this and I'm looking at it for the first time. I'm looking at this having gone through several different administrations in the United States in my lifetime. I'm looking at this through different literal eras of time, and it amazes me how much the relevance of the discussion still holds up. Like what is important here in this episode, right? Like, is it really holding up the Federation's values? Or maybe some of these values need to be adjusted because we've encountered new species that are considerably more hostile, and we need better ways to deal with them. Or we have cultures and customs that we kind of need to adjust to, because when other species start accusing us of imperialism, that probably means we need to go back to the Federation Constitution and probably restart it. And that's actually a real-life idea that Thomas Jefferson had, and once again, Jefferson was right, that the United States Constitution, not including the Bill of Rights, but everything after the Bill of Rights, needs to be rewritten every 27 years to maintain relevance. And I mean, looking at the way things are, and if you look at all the stupid laws we have tacked up over the years in the United States, it's like, well, the same thing seems to apply here with the Federation. Looks like the Federation needs to reevaluate its values and laws and ideas, because now it's like, yes, you have people that want to be friends, but they also don't want to adopt your values. And if the Federation believes in freedom, then it needs to be respecting of cultures, but that doesn't mean that, we force... You can't take the United States Constitution, for example, and force Mexico to follow it, unless the Mexican people want to.
Yeah.
And so...
I will say this, though, for the record, because I don't think Americans hear this enough. That hasn't stopped you guys from trying. Okay? I'm just going to put this out there because I feel like it's important.
Not every red, white, and blue-blooded patriot's born in America, brother.
Well, I am going to say this, though. You guys get really annoyed when other countries meddle in your elections. You do it every time we have an election up here.
Screw you. I don't do any of that. I have not touched anyone's vote. Don't take that out on me. My government, however, has interfered and is essentially in open rebellion to the people of the United States. But that's a topic for another show.
Actually, it's kind of more than that. It's the think tanks that various groups put together.
The
but
CIA,
anyway,
the FBI, all those three-letter boys that we really just that extra constitutional nonsense. Yeah, those need to be wiped away.
At any rate,
years too.
At any rate, yeah. So let's move on to the Maquis, man. Let's.
Yeah, you guys might be thinking to yourselves, "Oh, why are they getting so political all of a sudden?"
Because we're getting into the political episode.
It's the politics of Deep Space Nine, and oh man, do we have a couple of episodes coming up that we're about to hit some real life dates for. But we don't have time to get into season 3 just yet. I think it's season 3. Yeah, season 3 is when we get, and then 4. Yeah, okay, yeah.
No. Let's right now deal with the Maquis, which, for the record, the Federation should have done a long time ago.
Alright, storyline. The Cardassian freighter Bach Nor is blown up while leaving Deep Space Nine. It doesn't look like an accident. While both the Federation and Bajor expect retaliation by the Cardassians, they haven't even made contact. Then, Commander Calvin Hudson arrives to discuss the tense situation. He is attaché to the Federation colonies of the demilitarized zone and is a good friend of Sisko. Hudson tries to convince Sisko giving away territory to the Cardassians was a bad idea, and that the Federation colonists on the Cardassian side are abandoned. Sisko still believes the treaty was a reasonable compromise. When he returns to his quarters, he is surprised to find Gul Dukat. Yeah, creepy, bro. Gul Dukat tells Federation citizens were responsible for the attack and wants to show him something in the demilitarized zone. After arriving, the two receive a distress call from a Federation merchant vessel under attack by Cardassians. Credit once again to Arnoud Teal. Really good storyline. Yeah, a couple of minor grammatical errors, but you know what?
Yeah,
It
no,
was
I
great
mean,
overall.
you know what? This is the episode where we really start to see that it is hard to be an angel, or it's easy to be an angel in paradise.
Yeah.
Because, oh man, the Maquis have an awesome point.
The Skogliotin says, I could see myself as a Maquis. And, great. You know, we're forming, it's Star Trek Insurrection all over again. Yeah, no, this is definitely, I was wrong. I mean, John's been excited to watch DS9 this whole time, which has been great. But I think this was probably, well, shoot, no, this will probably be, it's too bad you didn't watch it, because this episode pretty much vindicates your stance in that these have been good from the get-go. And I mean, as it turns out, the more I think about it, Run Along Home is not the worst episode of DS9. Hands down, Invasive Procedures. But I don't think we're going to get anything that bad again, which for a television show to have, like, only, like, maybe 2 bad episodes, and then the rest are just okay, and then the rest are just God-tier level good. Man, did I just forget how good and this is
Actually,
where...
I would go with profit tier good, because let's be honest, right?
This is where, you know, people like Terry Metalis and anyone else involved with deciding shows where Kurtzman needs to pay attention, because if you're going to greenlight Star Trek Legacy, this is where you're going to need to be, if not better, like right out of the gate. And you can't have any missteps on this on Star Trek Legacy either. Like,
but also, well, you can if you're willing to pay extra to have extra episodes, because like that's what DS9 actually really has in its favor is 26 episodes this season.
Yeah,
you know, I feel like that's the missed thing that we're, you know,
that's
kind
part of it.
I realize now is that like especially me, somebody who like rewatches Archer all the time. There are legitimately episodes in the 13 seasons that I skip every time.
Yeah, now that's part of it.
That's room to fail, but like that's what you pay for. When we're doing these 10 episode releases, you write 26 and pick the 10 best, and they better be the 10 best.
Yeah, okay, hold on. Let me ask you this. It's not just that, because you got to realize this is a big component of it, and why Star Trek Legacy needs to adopt the DS9 model if it wants to succeed. The mini arcs within season 10 of Picard season 3, I liked. I thought that's a cool idea. That's something that DS9 does well. I think that's even something that you can have to play into a big arc overall. But you need to have your episodic content as well. And that's what we've got out of season 1 and 2 of DS9. I think the reason why we kind of don't think it's as good is because it is a lot of episodic, you know, week bad guy of the week type of content. And that's great. But I think why I like DS9 is because we get a little bit of continuity going on. We get a bit more serialization. And so for Legacy to succeed, it needs to not just adopt this model, but the stories need to be, like, better as well. I mean, think about this, John. You're not wrong with your 26... Hold on. Think about this, though. Imagine doing the story for Star Trek Picard Season 3 over 26 episodes. That's way too much butter scraped over a loaf of bread.
What you're asking for, especially honestly, if you'd done it over 26 episodes, you could have let's break it into threes because it's easier for me. So if you did 3 sets of 7 for the 3-act structure, Act 1 would have been the whole lineup story to the Kraken, right? And the ship, the enemy ship, and that would have just been
the Shrike.
The Shrike, right? So the Shrike.
7 episodes to get to the Shrike. Ah, man, I don't like.
Right, but what if we had that filler? What if we had Picard doing lectures for the first 3 or 4.
Oh yeah,
And then we
some,
had
some
3 or 4
episodic
so,
stuff.
like,
Yeah,
right, so like that's where the episodic really is, and what you're describing is the Lord of the Rings. There was the hike. Every movie, despite it like growing in intensity, there was still the hike. They were still walking. They were still trying to get to Mordor, and it was boring. And that's why there was spice around them. And I feel like that's really what you're asking for is like, yes, spice it up, but hike. You still got to have the hike. You still got to have the middle steps, the escalation where it's like,
right.
oh, minor tease. Oh, just a miscommunication and they resolved it by the end of the episode. Oh, accidental interruption because one of the students came in drunk. And it's supposed to be funny. It didn't land well. Oh well, it didn't break the story.
And that's why that's why it sucks that you didn't watch the episode, because this is where the show starts to shine, because we're seeding arcs for future problems. Like this is where this plays into big issues in follow-on seasons, and that's why and it's not just seasons. It also crosses shows. It also affects TNG. This is where, remember...
It affects Voyager.
Yeah, remember Commander Rowe from Picard Season 3? This is the organization that she leaves and goes into in The Next Generation when she betrays Picard. This is the founding of that organization, the Maquis. So, yeah, you get to see the roots. Like, this is what good story building, lore building looks like. Because they establish this stuff, and then they use it in Next Gen, and then they use it even to set up Voyager.
And like
sucked.
they've even,
but
really, they even started this in season 1. If you take a look, by having the Cardassians be these kind of shadowy antagonists throughout, they've been building to this, right? They've been setting this up now for the whole season, and you only notice this if you've been paying attention throughout the back, right? This is what we've been waiting for. This is the first of like those payoff steps along the way. And, we get it framed as a disagreement between two guys that consider each other brothers, right? We get it as a difference in philosophical opinion about an approach to a problem, right? This is two generals who sit down and play chess and then go back to their armies and send them at each other. And then come back to the game after the fight going, oh, hey, I saw your lieutenant took an arrow. Is he okay? Right? And the other guy's like, oh, yeah, no, he'll get over it. You're the head of your spear company. Looks like he got some stuff damaged on him. You may want to take a look at that. Oh, thanks. I'll message him after, I'll send a missive to him after this, right? Like, that's the kind of thing we're getting here. We also get my favorite Admiral A-hole in this episode, Admiral Nechayev, who shows up in TNG a bunch of times only to screw with Picard. And now she's back screwing with Sisko. And I can't help but love the fact that they brought her in just to be the annoying a-hole that we know her to be. And just be like, this is a bunch of ragged, a-holes. Go solve it, right?
Yeah.
And when she leaves the office and Sisko's like, go solve it. What the hell do you think I've been doing the last week? Right? Like, you sit there and you realize how much this is going on. And then you've got the Bajorans who are completely thrilled this is going on because they're like, somebody else is going to fight a proxy war against the Cardassians for us? Woot! Right? Like, why not? Let's let this happen. And we're totally content to sit back and watch. Right?
Yeah.
Because we don't have to do this. There is so much going on here. They pack so much into such tight episodes here. And yet, we get deep plot points and deep pieces of lore, right? And we even get a little bit of humor with, Quark trying to mac on a Vulcan, right? Like, how much more can you get?
Yeah. Yeah, so once again, all right, real quick, Skogly Oten writes in, I just had a wonderful little interaction with one of the crew members from the Heartland Season 17 set. He, like it, has better ratings right now in the U.S. than Friends. People are weird, LOL. Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't know you were in an area that has, potentially people working on movie sets. That's really cool.
Alberta fills in for, like, Montana a lot.
Makes sense. No, I was watching this episode and I was like, oh, look at remember those complaints in Picard season 3 about the gangster Vulcan? Yeah, here's one who's being an arms dealer. That's like just as bad, and all your arguments just aged. It probably wasn't on to have, because we already have a Vulcan arms dealer. Okay. Vulcan gangster, arms deal. It just sounds like two shitty Vulcans at the end of the day. And so it's like,
flawed logic is flawed, man. What can I tell you?
I mean, but they justify their flawed logic very well. And that's what I love about the Vulcans that are bad, because it's like, people say, oh, how could a Vulcan wouldn't do such a thing? And it's like, yeah, you know how many Christians I've heard make the same bullshit statement? Oh, Christians, that's not a real Christian. It's like, it doesn't matter if you think they're a real Christian or not.
Oh, dude, you want to have the shitty Christian discussion?
On the Rogue Council.
Oh, man.
I know.
I got stories.
I know. But, in the end, it's not because we want to bring anyone down. We just want to bring down the mental tyranny. Otherwise, believe what you want for your own reasons.
Look, I will say this. I have known some of the most compassionate, genuine, honest, loving Christians, and I've also met dicks.
And all variations. I want to thank everybody, especially our podcast listeners and our repeat listeners and our live listeners. Skogly, thanks for being on the show when you could. H. Marie, thanks for tuning in. Orville Nation, Nerdporeal Live Forum, was great to see you as well. Never seen it. I'm Peter York, the Writer Brothers. We will see you next week.
This has been a presentation of the Writer Brothers Tuesday Night Live Show. The Writer Brothers, restoring respect in the discourse.